Well, hello Dave, and welcome to Helsinki.
Thank you, Arjan.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah, how's it been so far?
Oh, it was wonderful. I'll tell you what, this is just a gorgeous city.
Yeah.
Beautiful people, wonderful people. Actually, they're really, really nice people. And the show last night was extraordinary. I mean, it was really, really good. I actually sat in the audience,
I know.
to watch and listen to the show. And Dwight is just an incredible performer.
Amazing. And
Oh,
the band is unbelievable.
And the band is amazing. The new folks that are in the band and everything were incredible. So, for me, it's been a number of years before since I have seen the show.
Yeah.
And I was so impressed with how good it actually was. Like I said, I was in the audience and I was sitting there with the fans. Which
Tremendous.
Yeah.
How does it feel for you to come back to all of this after all these years? I mean, Elvis has been dead for more than 45 years.
I know.
And it's still going on. Doesn't that surprise you?
No, in a way it does not surprise me at all. He, was at one time he was the most famous human being on the face of the planet. Yep. He brought joy to millions and millions and millions of people.
Yes.
He was in many ways an amazing human being, good guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he really was.
Funny guy.
Yeah,
Also,
fun guy.
yeah.
We had a lot of
Fun guy.
We laughed so much. We had so many good times.
When you think about him, think about the human being, not the legend,
Yeah.
but the human being that you knew, Dave.
Yeah.
Do you miss him?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how else to say that. Yeah, I miss him.
Yeah.
He was he was so charismatic. Everybody knows that, but he was also that way in person. Mm-hmm. But he was down to earth. He genuinely cared about the people around him, and especially he cared about his audience. He loved his fans, no question. Mm-hmm. I mean, he really, really did. Mm-hmm. I mean, he would say things like, well, I want the shirt off my back. Mm-hmm. Well, they can have it because they're the ones that paid for it.
They paid for it.
Yeah, they're the ones that paid for it. So he always loved his fans.
And his interaction with fans, like at Graceland or, on the roads.
I never saw him refuse an autograph. Mm-hmm. I never saw him tell somebody, leave me alone. Mm-hmm. I've never saw him ever do that.
At the shows, of course, the fans got a little wild sometimes. Would there be any instructions as to how you would interact with the fans, or?
Yeah, instruction number 1, don't hurt anybody. Mm-hmm. Make sure nobody gets hurt. In all of my interactions with all of the fans, the only one that got hurt was me.
You got hurt.
Yeah, I got hurt.
Yeah, because the women would get a little overexcited.
Oh yeah, they would. Frankly, everywhere we went, I say this thing often, many times I say this, everywhere we went, there were like hundreds of love-starved women, mm-hmm. just doing their best to try to get next to Elvis Presley.
Right.
And it was my job to keep them from doing that. Mm-hmm. What a terrible job for a guy, right? Yeah. But in fact, I often had to sacrifice my own body just to save his.
That's quite a sacrifice.
I'm kidding, of course, but it was an amazing experience.
What are some of the craziest things you've seen fans do at shows, on the roads?
Yeah, I'll tell you a couple of those. The first one that amazed me was the two young ladies from Mississippi who put themselves in a box and mailed themselves to Elvis.
This was around 1975, thereabouts. Yeah.
I remember that incident really clearly because I was driving up to Graceland, you know, and I saw a commotion at the gate, and a TV truck, you know, just leaving. And there was all these people milling around and whatever. And then when I got to the gates and, you know, Vesta was there, I said, you know, what's going on? He said, you see those two little girls over there? I said, yeah. He said, they just mailed themselves to Elvis. I said, what? They did what? They put themselves in a box and mailed themselves to Elvis. Yeah. Now, the excuse that they were using is that it was a dog. Somebody was sending a dog to Elvis. Yeah. But the office people refused delivery. Mm-hmm. So we don't want another dog, you know, take it back, you know, whatever you want to do. And when they, basically when they heard that, and they knew the jig was up, you know, I mean, it was done. So they kicked their way out of the box that they were in, and now they're caught.
Yeah.
So whoever informed the news people or whatever that occurred. So after all of that was done, I show up. Mm-hmm. And again, I say, you know, what's that? See those two girls? They mailed themselves to Elvis in a box. What?
Yeah.
How does that compute? What? So I called them over to the car. I said, come here. And they were young ladies, you know, 17, 18, something like that. And sweetheart girls. I mean, they really were really nice young ladies. And I said, did you actually do that? Yes, sir. You put yourself in a box and mailed yourself to Elvis? Is that true? Mm-hmm. They went, yes, sir. I said, why'd you do that? She said, well, because we wanted to meet Elvis and we couldn't figure out any other way to do it. So we did it that way. And I said, oh my goodness. You still want to meet Elvis? And they went, yes, sir. I said, get in the car. So they got in the car and I drove up to the back of Graceland, where I used to park. I said, all right, come with me. Mm-hmm. And we walked down, you know, this hallway into where the jungle room was, and there was Elvis sitting right there. And he was watching something on TV, I forget what it was. And I walked up with these two girls, and Elvis was looking at me, and I said, Elvis, you're never going to believe what I have here. Look at this. And he said, yeah, two very pretty young ladies. I said, you're never going to believe what they did. And he went, what'd they do? I said, they put themselves in a box and mailed themselves to you. And he had the same reaction that I did. His reaction was, what? They did what? Then he looked at the girls and he said, did you do that? They went, yes, sir. Yeah. Well, why'd you do that? They said, because we wanted to meet you and we didn't know how else to do it. So, you know, so that's what we did. And he laughed, you know, it was hilarious and everything. So he chatted with them a while. I guess he gave him a scarf, I don't remember, you know, whatever. But, you know, he gave me the, you know, okay, time for the ladies to leave. We did. And as I understand it, I don't know if it's true, but one of the girls actually ended up dating El Strada.
El Strada?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And, but they were cute little girls. I mean, they were really sweet and everything. And then everyone took them back to the gate, and that was the end of it, you know, right there. But
that's a cool story.
True story.
Do you have any memories from the shows, the way the fans responded? You mentioned to me earlier that sometimes women would throw themselves from the balcony.
Oh man, I got to tell you, we were in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Omni Theater. I understand that no longer exists.
Oh, it's no longer around.
But anyhow, the stage was high. It was like 15, 20 feet off the ground. And behind the stage was a balcony that was about on the same level. So there was a gap, like as much as maybe, from me to you, between the stage and the balcony. So, but it was a 15 or 20 foot drop from the top of the stage. And Elvis used to go to different areas of the stage, and he would sing to that audience. There's people there, and then he would go to, over there. And then he went, on this particular occasion, he went to the back of the stage where the balcony was, and I went with him. And I'd kneel down and put my hand on his knee. So he knew he was at the edge of the stage because he couldn't see it because of the spotlights and all of that. So he's singing his song, to the folks there at that age, and they're applauding and doing it, like they usually do. They go crazy. He's throwing a couple of scarves up there, whatever. And he turns around to leave, and I start to get up to leave with him. And I noticed something out of the sermon. I turned around, and there's this girl. She had launched herself off the balcony to the stage, and I catch her. If you consider her colliding into me and me falling to the stage with her on top of me, if you figure that as catching her, that's what happened. And she started to slip away, and she's going off the stage. That's a big drop. And I had her by the arm, thinking I'm holding her. And luckily the security folks that were down there saw what was happening, and they came over, and I lowered her, to them. And she was thankfully she was unhurt and all that stuff. And I went, "Are you crazy? What are you doing? Why did you do that?" She said, "Well, I wanted a scarf." She wanted a scarf. So I went and got a scarf and brought it and gave it to her. Yeah. You know what I say? And that was the end of that episode.
Did Elvis see it?
No, he had no idea.
Did you tell him?
He was back the other way. He was down there. He was on the other side of the stage.
Did you tell him that story?
Yeah. He just laughed. Right. What are you going to do,
Yeah, true. Dave, I would like to backtrack a little. Can you tell me a little bit about your childhood? You were born in 1937?
Yes. I was raised like Elvis, and I think one of the reasons why we had some rapport is that we were both born poor boys.
Yeah.
I was raised in a 4.5 room apartment in a tenement building in Western Massachusetts, Pittsfield, Massachusetts, where I was born. And there was 4.5 rooms with me, my 4 brothers, and my mother and father, with 1 bathroom, no hot water, no phone, no TV, no car, and no money.
No money.
No money, nothing. But in spite of that, we were actually a happy home, primarily because of my mother. My mother was amazing. But nevertheless, there we are, we're living there. And although we didn't have all those other things, what we did have in abundance was rats and cockroaches.
Rats and cockroaches.
Rats and cockroaches. And I'll tell you what, you have never had a thrill in your life until you've had a rat run across your face while you're trying to sleep. That's where I came from. That was my thing. And I learned at an early age that if you wanted something and that something cost money, then you somehow had to get a job or some way figure out how to earn the money to get that item. So I took a job as a caddy on a golf course, a private golf course, about 3 miles from my house. And my routine, of course, this is in the spring and summer and fall, not in the winter, of course, but I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, no breakfast or anything like that, and I would walk up to the block to the corner, and on the corner was a little convenience store, you know, like a 7-Eleven. And their bread delivery would be sitting there in front of the door waiting for them to open. So I would steal a loaf of French bread, okay, or Italian bread, whatever. I would steal that loaf of bread. And on my way up the hill to the golf course, I would eat half of that loaf of bread, because that was my breakfast. Then I would get to the golf course, and it wasn't yet open, and they had a fenced off area in the back of the clubhouse, and they kept all of their alcohol and you know, and beer and soft drinks or whatever. That's where they stored it all. And there was a little hole in that fence, you know, big enough for me to slide under and get underneath that fence. So I would get underneath that fence and I would steal 2 bottles of beer. So, and I would come back out and I would take those 2 bottles of beer, my beer opener, and my half a loaf of bread, and I would hide it in my favorite little hiding place. Then I would go over and wait for the office to open and get my first gig as a caddy, for which I was paid the kingly sum of $1.35 an hour. For 18 holes of carrying a bag that was often bigger than me. I was 8 years old at the time.
Right. When did you first become aware of karate, and what attracted you to karate?
I was in the Air Force. I was in the Air Force from 1955 to 1959. I was primarily based in California at March Air Force Base outside of Riverside, California. And in 1958, there was a group of Hawaiian guys who were working out, you know, in our squadron, doing stuff that looked pretty interesting to me, and it was what they called Kenpo. I later on learned that they really didn't know that much about Kenpo, but you know, I mean, they were great guys, and they invited me to come join them in their training. I said, yeah, heck yeah, come on, I want to learn that. So we did. Now, this is 1958. They also learned, since they became my friends, they learned that I was going to be getting discharged from the Air Force in 1959. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to get enrolled in college at Pasadena City College in Pasadena, California. In order to do that for the fall classes, I had to register by June 1. So that I could get out in September, get out of the Air Force 2 months early in order to go to college. So they said, you know, that's great, but I tell you what you should do. He said, after you register at Pasadena City College, drive up the street 2 blocks to Walnut Avenue, and there you will find the karate school of Ed Parker. And when it comes to Kenpo, he's the man. He is
The best.
oh yeah, he's the best. So I did that. I mean, how else would I meet Ed Parker? I had no idea who he was. I never heard his name or anything. Anyhow, I enrolled in college. I got my car. I drove up the street. Sure enough, there's the karate school. I went across the street, went in. The only one there was Ed Parker. So, you know, I introduced myself. Hi, how are you? You know, blah, blah, blah. And I told him, you know, what my background and my Hawaiian friends had told me I should come and see him. And he proceeded to take me out on the mats and show me what his brand of Kempo actually was. And I had never in my life ever seen any human being move like that man moved. It was like I got hit by a lightning bolt. I said, oh my goodness, you know, right? And I right there and then decided that I really wanted to learn how to move like that man. I wanted to learn how to do that.
Why?
Yeah, so I signed
No,
up.
but why? What attracted you to karate? What was it?
It was the speed and the power and the coordination, the timing, the balance, the agility, all of that, all in one big package.
Yeah.
And I instantly wanted to do that. So I signed up for lessons right then and there. And for the next 3 months, while I was still in the Air Force, I drove one way 60 miles from March Air Force Base to Pasadena, California to get my lessons twice a week. I did that.
And Ed Parker was your mentor?
He was my first mentor, but he was not my first instructor. My first instructor was a guy by the name of Jimmy Ibrao, a Hawaiian guy who was, in his own way, just incredible martial. This guy was amazing, the stuff he could do. So my first real lesson was not with Ed Parker, it was with Jimmy Ibrao. So I arrived early, you know, right, because I was kind of nervous and I didn't want to be late or anything like that. And he greeted me, you know, asked him who he was, and he said, you know, I'm going to be your first instructor, your first lesson. He said, go ahead and get changed and, you know, put your gi on and come back out. So I did. I went out there and he said, all right, come on out on the mat. He said, all right, show me what you got. What? What do you mean? I don't know what he meant. You know, show him what I got, you know what? He says, yeah, show me, you know, throw some strikes, throw some kicks, whatever you want. I said, like for real? He says, yeah, like for real. And he said, and I said, you want me actually to attack you? You know, like for real? He said, yeah. That's what I said, do that. Next thing I know, I am on the ground, on my back, and he's standing over me, and he said, I don't ever want that to happen to you ever again. And my first lesson just began. And that's the way it was. So within about 6 months, I was actually an assistant instructor, you know, helping in the classes. I made my black belt in September of 1962, which is about 3 years. And depending on how you count, I was either Ed Parker's 5th black belt, or I was like his 8th black belt or 9th black belt, ever.
And you had some famous sparring partners. One of them was Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Bruce actually lived with Ed Parker for a while at his home. And Ed was trying to help him, you know, get it into the movie industry, which is what he wanted to do. So Bruce used to come over to the studio. More often, though, his sidekick, Jimmy Lee, used to come over to the studio. And he would work out with us and then whatever, you know. It was kind of great. But anyhow, Chuck Sullivan and I are working out. And we're finishing our session, and Bruce is watching what we're doing. And he said something about, you know, that material sucks. Something like that. You know, I don't remember the exact words. And we went, what? Are you choosing us out, or what the hell is it? You know, what are you talking about? But it turned out he wasn't really trying to be nasty. He was trying to be more informative. He said, well, you know, the moves are kind of like what I would do as opposed to what you guys were doing there. I would do this, and we would go, you know, why? He said, well, because of this, that, and the other thing. So we started in with a discussion about material, not about persons or skills or anything like that, but material. So we're having this discussion back and forth, and he was saying, you know, well, actually, when you want to do it, you want this kind of a move, you know, as opposed to, you know, whatever. So we would play with that a little bit, and we started playing back and forth, you know, right? Nothing hostile, nothing serious or anything. It was just an intellectual change of ideas on a material. So, yeah, have you ever thought about trying to do it this way? You know, how about this? You know, and we would just play. And then we ended up actually sparring with each other back and forth. Now, when I say sparring, we weren't looking to kill each other or score points or anything. We were looking, it was like a fun thing.
Yeah.
A learning experience.
What did you think of his technique?
His technique was beautiful. He really had great technique. People, you know, I hear nowadays Bruce Lee was the fastest guy ever. That's not true. There are plenty of people just as fast as him, if not faster. You know, off the top of my head, you know, there are a couple of guys that come to mind right now. Steve Saunders, who became Steve Muhammad, one of the founders of the BKF, on the Black Karate Federation. He was amazingly fast, just and quick. And I was just as fast as Bruce, if I can say something like that, you know, without sounding like an arrogant jerk. But I was very, very fast in those days. And I thought, you know, I had as much speed as he did, if not more, depending on whatever. But in any event, it was a social get together, you know, the thing. It wasn't adversarial, it wasn't nasty, I never fought him to a draw or any of that like that. And so, but what you have to understand about Bruce Lee, although he was a phenomenal performer, Bruce Lee never competed.
Never did.
Never. Not that I know of. He never competed. So that's like saying you're going to accept information on swimming from somebody who never got into the pool. But that doesn't make the information that he had any less valuable, because it was.
But I think also his major contribution was that he popularized.
There you go.
Yeah.
That was it. We in the martial art world owe a great deal of gratitude to Bruce Lee, if for no other reason than what he popularized the martial arts in general, and that benefited everybody. It really, really, really did. And he was, you know, he had a bit of arrogance about, you know, his stuff, but I think it was just confidence rather than arrogance. And because he trained his butt off, boy. I mean, he really did. He didn't all of a sudden become Bruce Lee.
Mm-hmm.
He spent years and years and years of dedicated work to get to where he was.
Where he was, yeah, right.
Yes. Which is true of everything, if you think
Sure.
about it, you know. I mean,
Same with Elvis.
yeah.
Speaking of Elvis, when did you first meet him?
I'll try to make this a little brief, a little long story, but
Yeah.
I got a call from, I had my karate school in Glendora, California. Ed Parker's main school was in Santa Monica. That's 50 miles all the way across LA
Mm-hmm.
to get there. That's a 3-hour drive, one way. Right? So I didn't go there very often. And I got a call from George Wade, who is one of Ed's black belts.
Mm-hmm.
Good friend, good guy, great talent. And he said, listen, we're having a workout, you know, a whole bunch of the black belt guys are getting together this coming Friday at Ed's school in Santa Monica. And we'd like to invite you to come and join us and, just have a good time, have a good workout. And I hadn't seen those guys in quite a while, so I thought, yeah, okay. So I did, I went. And sure enough, we're there and we're all working out on the mat. There's probably 15 of us, something
Mm-hmm.
like that. And we're just having a good time beating the crap out of each other, whatever. And I noticed a commotion at the door. And I looked and I went, oh my God, that's Elvis Presley.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck is he doing here? So we continue with our workout, and Elvis is standing at the edge of the mat, and he's watching us work out. And the next thing I know, he's out on the mats, and he wants to work out with us. Well, to get on the mats in a karate school with a bunch of black belts in a system that you know nothing about is a chore for anybody, okay? It took a tremendous amount of courage on his part to actually get out there to work out with us.
Mm-hmm. And this was 1972.
72.
Yeah.
So I was his workout partner.
Yeah.
Okay. And I quickly realized he was unfamiliar with the material.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to help him through the whole workout situation. Mm-hmm. So what to expect, how to score points on sparring and doing it, whatever, never to be done. And that went very well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the session is all over with. And Elvis is standing there with Ed Parker, and we're getting ready. And Ed Parker calls me over, and he said, "Listen, I want you to do that technique that you do. We all call Wowie, right? Is a technique. It was like 13 moves,
Mm-hmm.
and I could do that in like 2 to 4 seconds. The whole 13 moves." Which is pretty impressive because every time I would do it, people would go, wow. So that's what we called it, wow. That was the name of the technique. And but it didn't work. It wasn't a practical technique. It was just an exercise in speed and coordination and timing and balance. That's basically what it was, a little show-off thing, okay? So I did that. And Elvis was astounded, and I learned later, right then and there, made up his mind that he wanted to hire me as one of his personal bodyguards. And if you think about it, Elvis could have hired anybody, and he chose me. And the reason why he chose me was that technique.
Mm-hmm.
Right there.
But right there and then, what were your impressions of him back then?
I very positive. I liked his courage, and the fact that he would get out there, and mix it up with a whole bunch of black belts in a system he's not familiar with. That is hard to do. That takes some nerve, takes some guts, takes some fortitude. And he showed all of that. You know, so even though I knew about Elvis Presley, I really wasn't a fan. You know, I was a fan of Fats Domino and Chuck Berry and people like that. I was not a fan of Elvis Presley's. You know, I liked his music. It was fine, you know, whatever. But I never thought anything more than that.
But you were impressed by him as a person.
Yes.
And the way he presented himself.
Yes. Yeah, I really was. It takes some guts to do that.
When was the next contact?
2 days later. I got a call from Ed Parker, and he said, Elvis wants you and I to come out to his house in Beverly Hills, you know, tomorrow night. And I said, oh, hell no. Then I said, no, I'm just kidding. Of course, yeah, let's go. So we did. We went out to his home, and we're inside, and not too many people were there. Sonny was there, Charlie, and maybe a few other people, but not very. And Elvis, you know, there weren't quite not a whole lot of people there, and so we're all just sitting around and chatting and talking and having a good time and laughing, whatever. And Elvis goes, Dave, you're going to have to excuse us for a minute because I have a situation out in the driveway that we need to take care of. So if you would just hang out here, you know, for a few minutes, you know, we'll go take care of it. And they do. They all disappear, go out the door. And I'm sitting there going, you know, like, I don't know what's going on. And the next thing I hear is Elvis going, Dave, come here. I need you. I immediately think there's probably something wrong, some kind of a problem, you know, whatever. I don't know. So I go outside, and there they all are standing. And they're all standing around this 1971 Mercedes 280 SL, beautiful car. And I walked out and said, hey, yeah, Elvis, you know, how can I help you? What's the problem? He said, the problem is this car. Yeah. He said, it's cluttering up my driveway, and I want you to drive it away. Oh, okay, where do you want me to drive it? He said, anywhere you want to drive it, it's your car. And he handed me the keys and the paperwork. And I am stuttering around trying to figure out how can I, what? Second time I meet the guy and he gives me a Mercedes?
Yeah. Didn't that strike you as odd?
I have never seen or heard of anything like that in my whole life. I was astounded. So I didn't know what to do. You know, I'm trying to say thank you, and I don't know how to say thank you for something like that. You know, it's a magnitude beyond my ability to comprehend. You know, it was really tough. So he just started laughing. Yeah. Handed me the keys and the paperwork, and he said, enjoy your ride, Dave. Good night. And they all went in the house. So Ed Parker and Ed got in his car, and I got in my new car, and we drove off, and that was it.
But didn't you also feel that you were compromised there? That if you would say no to the job, it would be difficult or whatever. That he was maybe buying you.
No, I never thought of that at all, ever. I am not really a suspicious kind of person. You know, it's hard for me to think when people approach me with stuff and say things to me that they have an agenda, you know, that maybe I don't understand. But I don't want to be the kind of suspicious person that, you know, that of everything. So I believe everything. Somebody says something to me, okay. Because it doesn't dawn on me that maybe they're lying to me or they're stroking me or they want something. I don't ever think that way. I just think, oh, really? You know, why would you lie to me? Yeah. So that's it.
And when did you become his bodyguard? How did that go?
Right then and there.
Right there and then?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, you had
well, not really right then and there, but you know, part of the process of right then and there, because later on he came out to my school in Glendora, and that's where he presented me with a TCB and asked me to be one of his bodyguards.
Is that when he wore the turban?
The turban.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are interesting photos.
Rare.
Rare. Yeah. Unique. And your daughters are on them. Yeah.
My daughters were there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind of surreal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were there, and as the pictures show, he's wearing a turban, and he's got this big old coat on. He had a gi on underneath it, and he's got this big old necklace, $50,000 gold necklace that Baron Hilton had given him, you know, for whatever. And he's showing all of his jewelry to my oldest daughter, Lori, and Lori is just fascinated with the whole thing, you know, whatever. But the occasion was like, you know, pretty surreal. And then he gave me the TCB and said, I want you to be my bodyguard. I said, okay. And frankly, I had just gotten divorced, and I figured that would be a great way to meet women.
True.
Yeah. Me, I'm your guy. Okay.
So you became his bodyguard, and you became part of his life, his lifestyle. You have always lived a very disciplined life, very disciplined, a very regulated life. What were your first impressions of his lifestyle, the way he lived his life?
I was very fascinated by it, actually, because I had never experienced anything like that in my life. So it was all new to me. And mostly it was fun. You know, it was a good time, good people, having a good time.
Did you get along well with the other Memphis Mafia guys?
Yeah, I did, actually. I think I did, you know. I don't know how they felt. I'm pretty sure they felt the same way. But they were suspicious of me because I was Ed Parker's guy. And without going into detail, the Elvis's people, they didn't like Ed Parker.
Do you know why?
No. But I knew that they didn't like him, and I'm Ed Parker's main guy, and there I am. So whatever they felt about him kind of carried over to me, you know, whatever. But in short order...
But you got past that.
Yeah, we got past that. In short order, they understood that, you know, I was not Ed Parker, you know, I was Dave Hebler. And that's a totally different person and totally different things. So we got along very well.
When did you see Elvis live for the first time?
Oh, I forget what it was, but they wanted me to deliver something, you know, to Elvis, and I can't remember exactly what it was. I said, sure, you know, I'll do that. So they made arrangements for me to fly to Lake Tahoe and, you know, to deliver this stuff, you know, to Elvis. But when I got to the hotel, and it was, it's the Hard Rock Hotel today. It was the Sahara Tahoe in those days. That was the name of it. And when I got there, it was like 11 o'clock at night because I had to land in Reno and then drive for 2 hours to get up to the thing. But in any event, I got there. So they had a room for me, and I got in a room. And I couldn't deliver the stuff that night, so I was going to stay overnight and give it to the next day. So I went... I got up in the morning at about 9 o'clock in the morning, and I don't like to eat in my room. So I decided I'm going to shower up and, you know, and get cleaned up and go on down to the restaurant and have some breakfast. So when I got down off of the elevator, when the opened up and I walk up, there's this sea of people. As far as you can see, people. There was a line of people, 4 wide, as far as you could see, back to the other building in this hallway. And then the other way into the casino and going around the casino and into the showroom. We're talking 9 o'clock in the morning. 8, 9 o'clock, whatever it was, right around there. And as I'm wandering, you know, what the hell is this? You know, good Lord. They had 6 cocktail waitresses servicing just that line. Anyhow, I go up and I go through the casino and I'm crossing the line to go into the restaurant, you know, where the restaurant was. And I hear somebody call my name. Hey, Dave, you know what? And I turned around, there's a guy I knew, a friend of mine. He's in line. I said, hey, you know, what are you doing, man? Well, what's up? And he goes, well, we're in line for the show. And I'm thinking, what? There's a matinee? Because I didn't know. I thought maybe it was like 11 a.m. show or noon show or something. I don't know. I said, you're in line for the show? He says, yeah, we have tickets and everything. I said, what show? He said, the 8 o'clock show. And I said, well, you're already late. You know, and he said, no, 8 o'clock show tonight. They had reservations and they were in line for like 12 hours to get into the show. I said, oh my God. So the guy goes, here. And he has a bunch of money in his hand. I said, yeah, what is that? He says, that's to get us a good seat. And I said, I don't know how to do that. I mean, I can't do that. They said, well, that's $300 right there. I said, I understand, but I don't know how to do what you ask. He said, well, can you, you can't get us a seat? I said, no, I don't know how to do that, and I don't have the power. But I can bring you to the front of the line, and you can give the money to the waiter D, the maitre D, and they're the ones that seat you. I don't have anything to do with that. I don't know how to do that. So fine. And I go into the restaurant and have breakfast. But it was astounding. I think the room sat 1,700 people. I think
Thereabouts, yeah.
Yes. And they put 3,000 people in there. They actually had people who paid hundreds of dollars to see the show sitting on the stairs. I never saw it. Oh, yeah, it was astounding.
And the show?
Show was amazing. And that was the first time I ever saw Elvis perform in person. And once again, it was like, with my Ed Parker experience, it was like a lightning bolt hit me. And I, for the first time, realized how incredibly talented this guy was in person. Because he sounded in person just like he would sound on a record. You know, when you produce a record, they engineer that record. They fix the highs and fix the lows and do all of that kind of stuff. But Elvis sounded just like
the records.
A completed record, you know, and I was, holy crap, this guy is really, really amazing. And that's when I really had the first inkling of what an amazing performer he actually was.
Are there any songs that stand out for you?
Trilogy, actually. And of course, Trouble. Yeah. So those two, but he was just amazing, and he was a consummate professional.
Mhm.
He never wanted to have anything but the greatest experience for his audience,
Mhm.
which means everything on the stage and everybody on the stage had to be perfect. The sound had to be perfect. The lighting had to be perfect.
Mhm.
There's kind of good, perfect.
Mhm.
And he demanded that from everybody.
And especially from himself.
Yeah, he would tell the suites, you know, they miss a note. You know, I'll go get this. I'll go get another group. I am in there tomorrow.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
he on the stage. I think it was Kathy
Mhm.
or something or other, and he said something. Her first gig, he said to her, "When I look at you, you better be singing," or something like that. You know, right?
Mhm.
So I mean, that's one area where he was no compromise
Yeah.
at all.
Would he be nervous before shows?
No.
Hmm.
I never saw him have a set of nerves or whatever. I mean, he split his pants on stage. He was never embarrassed.
What about afterwards?
What do you mean?
After the shows, would he have observations or would he
What
be
we would
unhappy
do-
about the sound or whatever?
Yeah, actually, he didn't carry that over. We would go up to the, the penthouse,
Mhm.
and we would all gather around. Everybody was just singing songs and just
Gospels.
yeah, socially, just having a good,
Yeah.
just having a good time, enjoying everybody's company, and that was really it. That's how it went.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you went on the road with Elvis. At what point did you realize, like, this guy has some problems with prescribed medication?
I don't remember off the top of my head the exact moment that it dawned on me that this ain't right. Something's wrong here. I don't know what it is, but something's wrong. And I saw him doing all kinds of pills all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one time he said to me, a handful of pills, and he swallowed them all.
How many
without
pills?
water. He was quite proud of that.
How many pills were they? Do you remember?
It was 16 pills.
16 pills.
16. Yeah. And then he said, hold out your hand. So I went, and he put another 16 pills in my hand. I said, go ahead. I said, what? He said, go ahead. That's for you. Sure, you'll like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, nah, you don't want to do it. No. He said, I said, nah, look, I'll tell you what, I'll do it later, okay? Yeah, right now, and I begged off, and I went away with those pills. And I found Dr. Nick, and I said, Dr. Nick, what are these? And he looked at my hand, he said, well, where did you get those? I said, where do you think I got them? Got them from Elvis. So it was a good thing you didn't take them. If you'd have taken them, you'd be dead. And there would be nothing I could do to save you.
Didn't you feel at that point like this is a bad scene for me to be in?
This is wrong.
Yeah.
And both me and Red and Sonny became more and more concerned as time went by.
But some of the other Memphis Mafia guys, they were also taking the same pills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
So it was part of the culture.
Huh?
So it was part of the culture.
Yeah. The only one who didn't do drugs that I know of, personally, is me. I won't do that, and I never have done that. I mean, I drink, I have alcohol, but I will not do pills. I won't do cocaine. I won't do any of that crap. I just won't.
Was this ever discussed on the roads, Elvis's pill intake?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we became concerned because this is a rough approximation of the situation, but Elvis really had three different issues concerning drugs, if I can describe them adequately. The first one is he had drugs that were prescribed to him from medical doctors for legitimate reasons. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I take drugs. I took them this morning.
Yeah.
They're prescribed
But
to
you
me
need them.
by my doctor because I need them. I had heart medication and, you know, whatever, anyhow. So that's that issue. The second issue was, in addition to the pills that Elvis was getting from Dr. Nick, you know, for his health problems, he was also getting all kinds of drugs coming in from other doctors. Now, how Dr. Nick could deal with it, how the hell could he do that? He didn't know. You know, I mean, come on. And then there was the third issue, and this has never been really publicized. And that's the drugs that were the feel-good drugs. The cocaine and, you know, all that, Dilaudid and all that stuff.
He would get liquid cocaine.
Yeah, where'd he get it?
Was that from Dr. Ganem,
No.
Las Vegas?
Where he got them, all of those feel-good drugs, yeah, it was from people like Dr. Ganem, but he got them from the people that were closest to him.
Like the backing singers, one of the backing
Like the
singers.
Stanley Brothers.
Stanley Brothers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In
They
fact,
supplied him with some of the hard-edge drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ricky, even before he died, publicly admitted that, yeah, he was providing Elvis with those feel-good drugs. Because David Stanley said to me one time, he said, yeah, he would get those drugs for Elvis and Elvis would buy him a car.
So they were kind of manipulative.
His brother.
Yeah.
And then, so that's the most insidious part. And I'm sure I'm going to get a whole lot of feedback from what I just told you.
Yeah.
But I don't care. It's the truth.
The interesting thing is, when Elvis died, the first thing that David Stanley said was, "Oh my God, I killed him."
Really? Oh, I didn't know that. Well, he was right.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to attack David or anybody else, you know, for that matter. I'm just trying to lay out the facts as I know them. I could be absolutely 100% accurate. I could be 90% accurate, 50% accurate, whatever. But that's my opinion.
Were you there in Las Vegas in 1974 when he started, you know, blasting the Hilton and so on? That was in 73. Yeah. But when he started talking about rumors about drugs,
yeah,
and he would, you know, pull somebody's tongue out by the roots.
Yeah.
Were you there?
Yeah.
What was your reaction?
I laughed.
Yeah. What about some of the other guys like Red and Sonny? I mean,
you know, they did too. I mean, it was a total denial of the actual facts of the matter. Total denial. If I can say this, you know, at that point in time, everybody knew that Elvis had a drug issue. Everybody. Everybody in the media, everybody at all the venues, you know.
Would people mention it?
Huh?
Would people mention it?
Oh, yeah. Of course. They all knew. The dog knew he had a drug issue. Everybody did. It was tolerated by his insistence that whatever he was taking was on the advice of his doctor. Therefore, it was fine, right? A doctor gave it to him, so it's okay.
In College Park, he gave 2 shows. This was in September 1974. And both shows were terrible. And you told me that Sonny West saw him for the first time in quite a while in College Park, and he cried.
Yeah. He came out, I was there standing in the hallway, and Sonny came out after, you know, greeting Elvis, and he was crying his eyes out. Because he hadn't seen Elvis in a few months. And the difference between when he had saw him before and what he saw him now was just heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
It's, and people, there have been people throwing stones at me for 45 years.
Mm-hmm.
If you love this man, why did you say all of those horrible things about him?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's your idea of what's horrible. But if it were your son that had a drug issue and you knew about it, wouldn't you do something about it?
Mm-hmm.
Now you got to remember, back in those days, the therapies that are available today were not available back in
Are you
those days.
surprised that people like Vernon Presley didn't do anything?
That was the thing that really astounded me. Vernon, more than anybody, knew that Elvis had a drug issue. He's the one that paid the bills.
Mm-hmm.
And as a father, I can't possibly imagine him as a father not doing everything under his power to try to help his son.
Mm.
And as far as I know today, he never lifted a finger to try to help his son. Not that I know of. Maybe he did. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't think so.
Do you know why? Was he weak?
I
Weakling?
I think he was weak, number one. Mm. Number two, he was dependent on Elvis for everything in his life. Elvis supported him and his lifestyle and everything that he did. Elvis paid for that. Vernon didn't. So it was kind of a heartbreaking thing, more than anything else. It's just.
Do you think Colonel Parker knew about the drugs?
Yeah, I think he did.
Would he ask about it?
He never discussed it with me, so I have no idea what he thought about it. But Colonel was, in many ways, was a bad guy, but he was always good to me.
Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about the Colonel.
Huh?
What was he like, Colonel Parker?
The Colonel? From my perspective, never
Yes.
mind anybody else's, but mine. Colonel would like to put you in a awkward position
Mm-hmm.
and then sit back and see how you acted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and he, for some reason, decided that I was the perfect guy for him to play his little game on. And I remember, one of the first instances, we were at the Hilton in Las Vegas, and there were two dressing rooms. There was a dressing room that was private, that was Elvis's dressing room, and then there was the public dressing room where there was a bar and a whole bunch of chairs, and the entourage and other people, celebrities would come, and that's where they would be. So I'm sitting on the stool at the bar, and the Colonel comes up and goes, "You are under the Colonel's power." And we always used to kowtow to the Colonel. "Yes, sir, Colonel." We do that kind of thing. So he said, "You are under my power. You cannot do anything unless the Colonel says you can." "Yes, sir, Colonel." He said, "You cannot do anything or move or do anything unless the Colonel says you can." "Yes, sir, Colonel." He said, "You cannot leave that chair that you're sitting in unless the Colonel says you can." "Yes, sir, Colonel." Off he goes, and he's in Elvis's dressing room. And the next thing I know, I hear Elvis go, "Hey, Dave, I need you. Come here." So I picked up the chair like this, and I walked in, I sat down and said, "Yeah, Elvis, what do you want?" And Elvis started laughing, and he said, "He got you again, Colonel." You know, right, Elvis. So the Colonel was determined that he would somehow get the better of me in those kinds of situations. And he did it to me all the time. And he never, ever won.
Did you know at the time that he was Dutch?
I knew he was Dutch. It didn't mean anything to me. I didn't care whether he was Dutch, German, French, American, whatever he was.
Did all of you know?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they did. I don't know. It never came up.
Yeah.
I never cared either. I don't care.
When you look at the shows, all the shows where you on a tour with Elvis, 73, 74, 75, 76, what are some of the highlights for you? What are some of the outstanding shows?
Oh, I don't know as though I could tell you exactly with that. Almost every show he did was amazing in one way or the other. You got to remember, all the talent he had stage with him were the best in the business. He didn't hire people from off the street. You know, I mean, he had the best in the business, and they were great, always.
Did the Memphis Mafia, did you guys have any contact with the musicians other than at the shows?
Of course, yeah, we did. I'm a big fan of music in general, and I'm jealous of their talent. You know, so I was always appreciative of how talented they really were. You know, it's hard to get up on stage and perform in front of a bunch of people.
But would you guys, you know, like hang out?
Not really. Not with we normally hung out together. You know, me and Red and Sonny and Dick. You know, we pretty much were it. You know, of course with Dean and you know and some of the other guys, we didn't go on vacation with each other or anything, you know, but we did hang out and, you know, go have a beer and whatever, do that kind of thing. But that's basically it.
Yeah.
The musicians have they usually like kind of stick together, you know, they're like a group. Because they speak the same language, they have the same kind of
They
thing.
work together,
yeah, they work together, so you can understand how that would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you there in 75 on the plane on the when Elvis couldn't get oxygen?
Oh yeah. He started having, we're in the air flying, he started having some distress and he couldn't breathe properly. He actually got down on the floor of the airplane and stuck his face into the air vent that was blasting out air, you know, trying to get more air. So Dr. Nick had the plane abort the flight and land somewhere. And they made, whoever it was, got us put into a hotel, a motel, whatever it was, and arranged all of that stuff quickly, very fast. And so we're in that hotel room, and he's got Elvis in bed, and he's no longer in distress. You know, he's fine. So that episode ended, and we got back on an airplane and went and did the thing, and that was, geez, boy, that was strange.
Yeah, because then he went to Las Vegas. They did a couple of shows, and then it got canceled, and then he was hospitalized.
Yeah.
What do you remember of that?
If we're talking about the episode where he was hospitalized in Memphis, I was in the adjoining room, and he and Linda were in the, you know, in his room. And some of the things I remember about that was all the letters cards and letters from all of the fans. I mean, stacks and stacks and stacks of them were arriving at the hospital in all goodwill. They didn't go to Elvis, and went to me. And I intercepted one package, right, that I opened from Dr. Ganem. And there stood a jar of 1,000 pills.
What kind of pills?
I don't know, all sorts of bad stuff.
Dilaudid?
I don't know. I immediately got a hold of Dr. Nick and right, and let him deal with it, because I don't know. What do I know about this stuff? So the fact that here's a guy in the hospital because of drugs, and a doctor is sending him more drugs.
More drugs, yeah.
What does that tell you about Dr. Ganem?
So he was in it for the money.
Elvis was not the only person that Ganem gave drugs to. A lot of people got drugs from him. I can't be specific because I wasn't I didn't have personal knowledge of that. I wasn't there when he prescribed stuff to other people.
You've mentioned earlier that he would have Elvis on these sleeping diets.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Went to one occasion, okay, I don't know the exact dates or whatever. We're at Dr. Ganem's house in Las Vegas, which is in a private community, a gated community. And Elvis is upstairs in bed, asleep, with apparently was Dr. Ganem's diet plan. Put him in a coma, doesn't eat food, so he doesn't put on any weight, so he loses weight. Boy, that's a hell of a diet, isn't it? Who would do such a thing?
It sounds absolutely crazy to me to put somebody in a coma to lose weight.
Huh?
There are other ways.
I didn't know what to think about it, you know. I knew it was wrong. This ain't right.
But you knew in your gut that it was wrong.
Oh, yeah, it was totally wrong. I didn't know it, and I didn't know what to do about it. What do I do? As a practical matter, you know, what do you do about it?
Would you try to address it with others, you know, like Joe Esposito or Red West or Verdon?
Yeah,
or
what the hell
Linda Thompson?
Yeah. So that incident and other incidents led us, me and Elvis and Sonny, to the conclusion that Elvis, because of the drugs, was killing himself. We were convinced that drugs were going to kill him.
Did you see him OD?
Well, if you want to call it that, there he is on the floor of the airplane sucking on an air vent. Whatever. After Elvis died, I went to testify on Dr. Nick's behalf on his first trial, you know, for whatever. And while I was doing my testimony, I couldn't speak to the media. I couldn't speak at all. But after I gave my testimony and everything, then I was free to say anything I wanted to say to anybody. And this reporter, you know, said to me something about, you know, the drugs. It just struck me wrong, you know, and I don't remember exact words, but I remember my reaction to it. And I said, are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? Did Elvis have a drug problem? When Elvis died, the people that were still there half of them were saying that, Elvis was fine. He was in good health, and he was looking forward to the upcoming
And
tour.
some of them were enablers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other half were saying, well, yeah, Elvis did take medications, but they were medications administered by a doctor. So my question to this, my response to this reporter was, the autopsy revealed that Elvis had in his system at the time of his death 14 different drugs. I believe it was 14. So my question to you is that if he was in good health and looking forward to the next tour, what the hell is he doing with 14 different drugs in his system?
Yeah. I believe that a few of them were metabolized from other drugs, but it's still a lot of pills.
The other camp, prescription drugs, that makes him okay, right? If he had an illness of some kind, name the illness that requires the simultaneous ingestion of 14 different drugs.
David, was Elvis in denial?
Yes,
It,
of course.
Yeah.
But then you have the enablers, the people, who are scrambling to justify whatever it is, that's going on and poo-poo it and carry it off.
You mentioned the Stanley Boys.
Yeah, they were complicit in supplying the feel-good stuff
Yeah.
to Elvis.
And there was also Tim Beatty.
There were other
Yeah.
people. I don't know for a fact
Yeah.
who exactly they were.
Did you try to stop them?
We tried to intervene. When I say we, I'm talking about me, Red, and Sonny. But
How did that go?
badly, because the people that we threatened, if you will, I guess that's the word, I don't know what that is, went crying to Elvis. And his response was, leave him the hell alone, I need it.
That's what he literally told you. I need them.
Not me, told Red and Sonny, he didn't tell me, he told them. And they just went, okay, go ahead and kill yourself, if that's what you want to do. All right, they threw their hands up in despair. Because at that time, we realized that nothing that we could do would make any difference.
Did you try to confront him with it?
Yes.
Yes.
And it didn't work. We got together with these narcotics officers from a police department. And
That was in Denver, Colorado.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they presented this plan to Elvis. I was there when they did it. Okay? And they said, I don't remember the exact words, it was 50 years ago, but approximately what they said was, look, Elvis, we're narcotics officers, and you're embarrassing us. I mean, we love you like a brother, and everything, but you're doing all these drugs, throwing it in our face, so we want to help you. So we've put together this plan where you can be at this facility that would help treat you, for your drug problem. No one would know anything about it. It would be entirely confidential, and no one would ever learn about it. And Elvis went insane. You think I can't take care of myself or take care of my own problems, blah, 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 and went on. And they're just going, jeez. And he looked at me, Elvis, said, come on, we're leaving right now. We went and we left a couple of guys there. I think Al and Dean would be the two guys to pack up our bags. We didn't even go back to the hotel. Got on a plane and we went to Las Vegas.
Just split.
Yeah, just left.
He didn't like to be confronted.
He insisted that he was totally in control of everything in his life, period.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever he felt about it was the right thing and the right way to go about doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm explaining this kind of badly,
Mm-hmm.
but I think you get the general idea of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because you heard the expression, my way or the highway?
Yeah, right.
That epitomizes Elvis. His way, or you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Period. That's all there is to it. So you had like zero power to do anything. You couldn't, whatever. His father never interceded that I know of. Never did.
What was your impression of some of Elvis's girlfriends, like Linda Thompson?
I loved her.
Sheila Ryan?
Loved her too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think they tried to help him?
Yeah. I know Linda did.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever she got from Elvis in terms of jewelry and other things, she earned every inch of it.
Mm-hmm.
She did. She was the best thing that ever happened to him,
Mm-hmm.
in my estimation, anyhow.
Do you think the fact that you guys got fired in July of '76, Linda Thompson left in November, do you think that was like the perfect storm for August 16th, 1977?
I don't know.
Because the whole safety net was gone.
Yeah, it's probably part and parcel of what happened and led up to what ultimately happened.
Mm-hmm.
But how much of an extent there was, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to gauge that.
Elvis fired you and Red and Sonny in July of '76. What was your contact with Elvis like in the months leading up to that?
He had kind of distanced himself from me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it was nothing obvious, but it was but it was
Subtle.
kind of subtle, yeah,
Subtle. Yeah.
And I noticed it, but I didn't really pay too much attention.
He was
to
distant.
It. Yeah, it was a little bit distant. And
was that after the episodes in Colorado where they confronted him?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, much after that.
Which was probably in January of '76.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the actual time, but it's you know more about that than I do.
Mm-hmm. Did he also distance himself from Red and Sonny?
I think so. I can't give you proof, but I think so. That's the feeling.
Did the lawsuits also have anything to do with it?
You know what? My name's not on any lawsuit.
No.
A lawsuit is a legal document,
Mm-hmm.
and it's public knowledge. Mm-hmm. You can look it up, right? Go find the lawsuit that has my name in it. You won't find it because I never abused any fan, ever.
Mm-hmm.
The only one that ever got hurt is me.
Yeah. When was the last time you saw Elvis?
The night before he left and we were fired. We went out and played racquetball.
Mm-hmm.
And
everything was normal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got back in the morning. It was like early in the morning, and I had all of Elvis's gear. He didn't carry his own gear.
No.
So I had all of his gear, including mine, in my car. And I went back to my hotel room, and the next morning I went over to Graceland, and I was there in the kitchen having a cup of coffee, and Vernon said, come on over to the office, Dave, I need to talk to you. I said, okay. So I went over there, and it felt kind of strange over there because there's nobody around. There's nobody there, you know. And I was, what the hell? What's going on? So Vernon basically said, well, Dave, I got to tell you that we're having, you know, some financial difficulties, and we're going to have to cut the staff, and unfortunately, you're one of them. What? I'm fired. Okay. Then.
What did you feel at that moment?
Bullshit.
Yeah.
This is a load of crap. And where is Elvis? Elvis is gone. So now I'm starting to realize all of these things all at the same time, you know, whatever. And I'm getting more and more upset, you know, with the whole thing. Like, number one, Elvis is gone. Everybody's gone with him, except Red and Sonny.
Did you call Red and Sonny?
I forgot how we got in contact, but we actually did, and come to find out they were fired
The other ones
as well.
Yeah.
So we got, I think, what, 2 days' notice and 1 week's pay. In the first place, Elvis left town and let his father do the dirty deed. Pissed me off.
It's a pretty chicken shit way of firing people.
Cowardly.
Cowardly, yes. I
called my wife. I said, you know, I've been fired. What? She said, what happened? And I told her. And she
said, of course, you also had a family with young kids.
Yeah. I had me, my wife. I call her my wife, but we weren't really married. We just lived together. There was me and her daughter, her little sister, and my 2 daughters. And me, all those girls and me. That was the family. So she said, if I can remember what Linda said, actually, exactly, but basically she said, he left his town and let his father do it? I said, yeah. She said, you go find him. And, you know, get in his face. For Linda to do something like that was pretty extraordinary, you know, right? I said, okay. So I contacted a couple of guys who did gambling tours. They would bring gamblers into the MGM in Las Vegas. So I got a ride with them at night, and next morning I'm at the MGM. And they gave me a room, and security gave me a car to use, you know, one of their cars. So I took the car and I drove over to Ganem's home, you know, in that gated estate where he lived. And I went through security there, and I drove up to the house, and I walked in, you know, and I'm carrying a gun and everything, you know, right? And Lamar and a couple of other people were there, you know, when I went in, and they were going, oh my God, you know, right? And I said, relax, I'm not here to cause anybody any harm. I'm not going to hurt anybody. Don't worry about it. It's not whatever. All I want is for him to fire me to my face.
In person.
In person.
Yeah.
He hired me to my face. Be a man, step up, and fire me to my face. That's what I want. That's all. And they went, well, you know, he's upstairs, he's asleep, you know, whatever. I was there maybe, I don't know, 45 minutes, an hour. And Dr. Ganem comes home. And he's, oh my God, he sees me, right? I said the same thing to Dr. Ganem. I said, yeah, Doc, I'm not here to cause any problem. And I told him the same thing I told Lamar. And he said, well, Dave, he's not going to listen to you. You know, I mean, it's just not going to happen. He said, if you want, I will mention it to him. And I knew at that point in time my mission was not going to be completed, so why make an issue out of it? You know,
so you left there, and you were understandably upset.
Yes.
You were upset. take me to the steps of how it went from that to, you know, agreeing with Red and Sonny to write a book.
I think it was, I'm trying to remember exactly the sequence and how that happened, but I think it was Sonny who got the idea of, look, we tried everything that we could and we got fired for our efforts. Mm-hmm. Maybe what we should do is go public.
Yeah. Did you contemplate different versions, like a television interview or whatever?
No, I didn't think of anything like that. We just went, if we go public, mm-hmm. it's going to force him to realize, hopefully, mm-hmm. realize what he was doing, not only to himself, but everybody around him. And maybe, just maybe, that would motivate him to want to seek the kind of professional help that he actually needed and what we thought he needed. Mm-hmm. And that would be the last effort on our part to do that. So I think it was Sonny who was contacted by this attorney to mm-hmm. put everything in action and to do it. And we received a number of responses to that, you know, to agencies that wanted to do the book. And we took the one, unfortunately.
Ballantine Books.
Ballantine Books. And we didn't realize that their motivation for doing all this stuff was to make money, because they knew this was sensational, it would sell. Our opinion was you should do a hardback, because mm-hmm. it will sell in the millions. Mm-hmm. You know, whether paperback or hardback, you really should do that. We also sat in a hotel room for 30 days in Hollywood, along with Steve Dunleavy, the writer, and we told Elvis stories into a recording machine. Mm-hmm. And 95% of everything that we talked about was positive stuff. Mm-hmm. We talked about the fun times that we had, the jokes we played on those, you know, the good times, you know, our experiences with all the crazy ladies, and you know, all the stuff that happened on tour and all this stuff.
But you guys were also angry and upset, and with good reason.
Yes, of course. So
during that time, did any of Elvis's associates try to contact you and try to get a deal or whatever? John O'Grady has been mentioned as somebody.
Yeah, he did.
Is it true that you were offered $100,000? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I think he said, you know, and something to the effect that, you know, Dave Hebler, he ain't shit. Don't worry about that. You know, crap. Mm-hmm. You know, deal with Red and Sonny and do that kind of stuff. Which further insulted me all, you know, all the way down the line. So, you know, I'm trying to organize in my mind how all of the sequences took place and the motivations at the time. And it's hard to be absolutely accurate. You know, I mean, I'm lucky if I can remember what I had for breakfast.
Do you remember that last phone conversation with Elvis that Red had?
Yes.
You were there, I believe.
Yeah. He called, Elvis called Red. Mm-hmm. And Red is recording it. And I'm sitting right next to him.
Yeah.
And Elvis is going on, well, you know, I still love you guys and I'm still here for you and everything. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and Red went, well, you certainly weren't here for my family. You never thought about my family when you were doing this thing, or, you know, that kind of thing. And then Red said, you know, what about Dave? What did he do? Mm-hmm. And Elvis said, oh, well, you know, you know, it looked like he started to see me as a dollar sign, you know, and Ed Parker warned me about that, and he told me that I was really smart, and I was probably more interested in using him, you know, for money than anything else, and he should keep me at arm's length and don't let me get too close to him and all that kind of stuff.
That must have
Which
been...
was kind of interesting because although I accepted cars and I got clothing and I got jewelry from Elvis, I never took a single penny.
So Parker kind of stabbed you in the back.
Yeah.
Were there any others that did?
I don't know.
You know, I'm thinking of people like Joe Esposito,
I don't know.
Dick Grobe.
I always thought that I was friends with and got along real well with both Dick and Joe. I could have, maybe I'm wrong, you know, but that's the way I thought of it. I didn't think they resented me or anything like that. I thought we got along just fine. You know, so and that recording, by the way, is readily available.
Yes.
Go look it up.
It's on YouTube, yeah.
Yeah. So
how did it make you feel? Was it hurtful?
It made me feel awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made me feel terrible. I didn't, you know, I didn't have any malicious thoughts or anything like that. I never did operate like that. I never asked Elvis Presley for a single thing, ever. For anything. And I certainly didn't ask him for money. He offered me $50,000 one time. And I said no. No, I don't want. No, you know.
Why did he do that?
I don't know. He knew I was a poor boy, and you know, and I had obligations, and I had a family, and he just wanted to help out. And I didn't want that kind of help. You know, I just said, no.
Okay.
You know, I'll take care of my family. Don't you worry about that.
Did you guys ever contemplate that he could die?
That he could die?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right there.
We were convinced that he was going to die. I did. It's in the book. I say it. I was convinced that he was killing himself and he was going to die.
Okay, the book was published on August 1st, 1977.
Yeah,
Elvis died 2 weeks later.
Yeah, there were two first editions, by the way.
Yeah, 2 first editions. Yeah.
But first time we saw the content that was in the book, the final product, was when it was already published. If you look at that book and read the cover and read the back cover and read the words that are written there, the first time we ever saw those words was when the book was published, because those weren't not our words.
So you had no editorial control?
No. They considered us to be these bodyguard Neanderthals with our knuckles dragging in the ground, just looking to get revenge. That's how they thought us. Everything that we recommended or asked them about, they just told us to piss off.
Did you feel betrayed by Steve Dunleavy?
I actually thought he was sincere, you know, at the time. But when the final product came out, what the hell is this? I mean, like I said, we still told stories that were like 90%, 95% positive. None of those stories were in the damn book. It was just all of these. There are ways to say things. And if you say things in a way that are calculated to be sensational, that's a different kind of take than if you're just stating facts. Okay? And what they did is take facts and turn it into sensational.
So it was sensationalized?
Oh, of course, yes, totally.
Yeah.
And then they screwed us on the money. People I mean, even today, people are saying, "Oh yeah, you're still doing Elvis stuff. Did you spend all the millions of dollars you made on the book?" Mm-hmm. Well, I wish that were true. I wish I made millions. But the truth of the matter is, I made 1.6 cents per book. Less than 2 pennies per book. And for the last 10 years that the book was in print, I never received a single penny. Neither did Red or Sonny.
Nothing.
So who was the victim? We were stupid. I shouldn't say stupid. We weren't stupid. We were ignorant. Mm-hmm. We didn't know how that worked. We trusted what those people said to us, and they lied to us big time.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we should have been smarter.
So when the book came out and you saw it for the first time, you were not happy?
I was enraged. And so was Red and Sonny. We were sitting on a curb on the sidewalk in Beverly Hills. Mm-hmm. We each received 50 books. And we sat down and we signed each of those 50 books for all three of us. So we would all three have 50 books signed by all three of us, right? As far as I know, those are the only books, 150 books out of how many million were done, that were actually signed by all three of us. And I'm told that those are worth a lot of money. Mm-hmm. I don't know, whatever. Anyhow, that's what I'm told. But those were the circumstances, at the time. That's the truth of the matter, So.
And August 16th, Elvis died.
Yeah.
What was your reaction?
I was driving on a freeway in Southern California on my way home to deliver my wife's birthday present, because it was her birthday. And I'm listening to the radio as I'm driving along, and they broke into the music and said, breaking news, Elvis Presley has died. And I went, what? I'm talking to the radio. I said, what? Then they repeated it, and I went, oh, man. And then, the tears came, and I couldn't see. I drove off the side of the freeway and parked there until I could collect myself. And, I was just shaking my head, even though I had predicted that kind of a thing would happen. It was still just a horrible shock. So I finally recovered enough to continue my drive home. And by the time I got home, which is probably half hour later, when I walked into our condo where we lived, the phone was ringing off the hook. Mm-hmm. Reporters calling from everywhere, and the phone wasn't even in my name. I don't know how they knew, but they knew, they knew. And they were all wanting an interview. I said, no, I'm not going to do that.
Did you contact Red and Sonny?
I actually got a call from Sonny. Sonny said, look, I have arranged for a press conference for tomorrow for you and I, because Red was back in Tennessee, and we were in LA. Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah, of course, I'll go, I'll come. So I did, went for that. And they were nasty. Those reporters were really, really hostile. Mm-hmm. They thought we were some, again, Neanderthals just trying to get even, stupid ass bodyguards that don't know anything, So the last question that came up was this reporter who was hostile. Mm-hmm. Isn't that? He said, yeah, well, if you loved Elvis and you cared about him so much, why didn't, and you were his bodyguard, you're supposed to, why didn't you protect him? And I said, protect him? How do you protect somebody from himself?
Yeah, a classic line now.
that made me famous.
Yeah, it made you famous.
I know.
Yeah.
It was just off the top of my head, but I was insulted. I was enraged. I had just had gallbladder surgery, major surgery, you know, this thing. So I was not physically in good condition. So to have all this emotional stuff coming my way all at the same time was a pretty rough burden to bear. You know, I'm not looking for sympathy by saying that, but that's just how it happened. That's why not.
But it's also incredibly sad, I'm thinking, you know, because Elvis was sometimes a hot-tempered guy, and he had a habit of sometimes firing people, but he would rehire them. And maybe, you know, if he'd had the time, you know, a lot more time, you know, you guys could have, you know, talked, you know, you could have maybe, you know, but he never had a chance. And it's so sad that it ended with the book and his death. How do you feel about all of
that? Badly.
Yeah.
It's still, you know, to this day, it kind of hurts. Yeah. But there's a scab over the wound.
Yeah.
You know, I've learned to deal with it. Yeah. You know, what am I supposed to do? Spend all of my life, you know, just grieving and that, you know, I don't do all that kind of stuff. I just have too many positive things in my life to look forward to and to be involved with to go down that.
Does it make you angry when even today there are people blaming you for Elvis's death?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really get angry anymore. I appear like I'm angry. I just have that kind of face. You know, people think when I'm talking sincerely about something, people think I'm angry or I'm pissed off or something like that. And I'm not at all. I'm just trying to express myself. But every time, you know, I get a negative from people calling me a backstabber and you killed Elvis and you know, saying all of that stuff. What I try to say to those folks is that, look, if we can have a respectful conversation, you know, I'm happy to address that situation for you. In the first place, you weren't there. And because you weren't there, everything that you know or think you know about the situation is hearsay. It's secondhand information. Okay? And it has to be that way because the only way you can have first-hand information is if you're there. So, you decided to believe another ignorant moron who said that, you know, Dave Hebler was a monster and he killed Elvis and, you know, stabbed him in the back and he's a Judas and he's all that kind of stuff. You chose to believe that without any evidence to the contrary because you weren't there. You don't know the difference.
Plus, Elvis did it first.
Yeah. So here's my classification of the body of knowledge that you actually do know about. In the first place, there's a body of information that you know about that's absolutely true. It is true. Okay? There's another body of information that's kind of true, but not totally true. And then there's another body of information that's totally untrue. Okay? But all of that is hearsay. All of it. Why would you choose to believe all of these negatives when in point of fact, you don't know?
But I think also some of these people are keyboard warriors, you know, the online. And if you would meet them in person, it would be a different story.
I have found that when I have an occasion to speak with someone who has those negative viewpoints, as long as the conversation is civil, I'm happy to have that conversation. And every single time I do that, every single time, 100% of the time. I go away from that conversation knowing, and that person goes away knowing that now we're both in tune with the actual facts. Okay? You can still choose to hate my guts. Why would you want to do that? What did I ever do to you? You know?
Yeah.
Well, but it's your choice.
Yeah, we've talked about the drugs because it's part of the story.
Yeah.
And we cannot change history. But you've also told me that Elvis had so many good qualities, that he was a good guy, that he was a feel-good guy, and that he was extremely generous.
Oh, yeah. I do, as you know, when I do my introduction to the shows that we do, I talk about Elvis the person.
Yeah.
Because over the years, I've received thousands and thousands of questions. And the most common question from folks is, what was Elvis the person really like?
Yeah.
Or, did Elvis really do this? Did Elvis think about this? It was always in that venue with, what the classification of questions. And because everybody knows everything there is to know about Elvis the singer. They know 100% of everything there is to know about Elvis the performer.
Yeah.
And 100% of everything that Elvis knew about Elvis the movie star.
Right.
In fact, they know more about it than I do. Okay? What they don't know is what was Elvis the person really like. So,
why did he give so much to other people? He gave cars to complete strangers.
Listen,
he gave a lady a wheelchair.
Yeah.
What did he get out of it?
Well, I'll tell you what he gave out of it. I thought of a way, how do I answer that question? That's pretty hard to do. So I thought, well, y'all know that Elvis was a very generous human being, right?
Yeah.
And everybody goes, yeah, he was. And he was.
He was.
He was the most generous human being I ever met in my life. He gave away houses and furniture and cars and trucks and motorcycles and go-karts and horses and dogs. I mean, he gave away jewelry and money and clothing. And he did that often to complete strangers. And he always did it with a good heart. He never expected, nor would he want, to receive anything in return except for a thank you. That's it.
Was it simply the joy of giving?
Yeah. And I'll tell you why. We're driving around Memphis one day. I don't remember who was driving the car, but Elvis was in the front seat, I was in the back seat, and we're just driving around and having a good time, enjoying each other's company, talking, telling jokes, talking about girls, just having a good time. And Elvis all of a sudden turns around and it says, I want to buy you a car, Dave. I said, well, that's nice, Elvis. You don't have to do that. He said, yeah, I know I don't have to do that, but I want to buy you a car. I said, Elvis, you just gave me a Mercedes a year and a half ago. You don't have to give me a car. And the next thing I know, there's a loaded gun stuck in my face. And he said, you're going to take this car or I'm going to blow your head off. Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll take the car. So I took the car. A lot of stories about that car, but I'll leave that out for now.
It's now parked at Graceland, right?
Yeah.
It's now in a museum. Yeah.
That car today is in the museum at Graceland. Yeah. It's the purple Lincoln. So the next
That's
time
your car.
That's my car. So the next time you go to Graceland, say hi to my car.
I'll have that story as a mental image.
Yeah. And there's a lot of ancillary stories about that car and how it got to be where it is and everything. It's kind of interesting.
And how it is today.
Yeah.
You
so it's kind of interesting how that all came about. What makes that car so valuable is that it originally was in Elvis's name. So when Elvis bought a car for somebody, it went into their name. But this car, Elvis bought it, and Vernon put it into Elvis's name.
Yeah.
So the original documentation for that car is Elvis Presley owned this car. Well, of course, 2 days later, I owned it. You know, but it's one of the few cars that actually were in Elvis's name, which is where the value is. There's no value to a car that I owned, you know, but it was Elvis's. It's valuable. It's worth a lot of money.
Dave, it's now more than 45 years ago that Elvis died. I want to hear a story from you that it's not about the legend, the myth, or the drug addict, or the giver. Give me some insight into Elvis as a human being, just a guy, just like you and me sitting next to each other.
Okay, I'll finish the story of one story of the Lincoln.
Yeah.
A couple of months later, we're sitting in Elvis's bedroom, sitting on his bed, actually, the two of us. And we're doing the same thing. We're just telling stories and joking and whatever, just having a good time. And I said, "Hey Elvis, you got any idea of how many vehicles you have bought and given away in the last couple of years?" And he went, "No, and I don't care either." He says, "Hang on, I want to show you something." So he goes into his office and he comes back and he hands me a check made out to him in the amount of $100,000. A lot of money. Anyhow, he said, "I'm not stupid." He says, "I understand that I couldn't purchase the kind of goodwill and PR that I get whenever I buy somebody a car." He says, "Secondly, it seems like every time I do something like that, I buy somebody a car, it comes back to me 100 times over, like that check you got in your hand." He said, "And thirdly, it makes me feel good to make people happy." Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis Presley, the person.
Elvis Presley, the person. You know, like I said earlier, there's so much myth around Elvis, and it's really hard to see the person. But what made him tick? What made him happy? What did he fear? Can you tell me?
I don't know if I can or not. I have my impressions, but one of the conversations that we had was, why me?
Yeah.
Elvis knew he was hugely popular. How could he not know, right? And he knew that he was popular beyond all belief. He really did. And his question about all that was, why me, Lord?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? And I said, I don't know. I said, but what I think is that I think God put you here for a reason, and I think the reason is because you bring so much happiness to millions and millions of people. And I think that's your person, that's your purpose, why you're here. I said, furthermore, Elvis, 100 years from now, nobody will know my name, but they'll know yours. And they'll know that for good reasons.
Did he ever fear that he would lose his popularity?
Yeah. He thought the book might harm him from a popular point of view, but of course it didn't. You know, it did just the opposite. But he did have that fear because I didn't hear it directly from him, but I heard it directly from other people he said it to. You know, because that's basically it.
Yeah.
He thought it was the fans would turn on him after reading the stuff in the book, right? And he was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't. They're the most loyal people on the face of the planet. Elvis fans are the most wonderful group of people ever.
Yep.
They really are. You know.
How does it feel after all these years to do these shows like we're doing now?
It feels good.
Yeah.
It gives me an opportunity to reflect back on my life and something that was just really terrific, really wonderful, you know, the kind of thing that only happens to a few people. If you think about it, you know, there's not very many people who have had the opportunity and the blessing to receive the kind of thing that came my way, the stuff that came my way. The good thing, the good friends I met that I would never have an opportunity to meet before. I mean, I have 5,000 friends on Facebook. I have, you know, I don't know how many on Instagram. I have millions of people who know my name, and the major percentage of those people are actually on my side. They're actually my friends. They're, you know, even though we don't go out and have a beer together or whatever. But that's humbling.
Yeah. But doesn't it also feel like, well, we talked about the firing and all of that in 1976, but doesn't it feel that when you do all of these things so many years later, that you're like coming full circle?
In a way.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing. It's a good circle.
Yes, it's a good circle.
I don't go back to the bad stuff. I go back to the good stuff. You know, I remember the all of you know, the concerts that I was a part of. You know, as I wasn't a performer, of course, but you know, I was there. You know, the thing, and how exciting it was, and how much fun it was, and all the good times that we had. And here I am with you and all of the amazing performers that you have collected together. And it's like deja vu all over again.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, because, you know, I mean, I admire it. You know, Dwight Eisenhower is the most amazing, talented entertainer there is.
Well, people still want to hear Elvis's music. They will not let go.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Does it surprise you?
Yeah. What surprises me is here in Europe, interestingly enough, when the audiences, you know, when the group is performing a number, they sing right along with the with the group on the stage, and they know every word to every song, there ever was, and they just love the heck out of it. It's great. It really is. When I said Elvis fans are the greatest ever, they are. They're just amazingly wonderful people.
What do you think Elvis himself would make of all of this?
Oh, he would love it.
Yeah.
He would absolutely love it. He really would.
Yeah.
My belief, anyhow. I know I do.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing to be doing this, and it's also amazing, especially in a time where, you know, there's so much happening in the world, politically and so on, that we can just, you know, spread the joy of music.
Yeah.
Spread the joy of great music, you know. And I think Elvis, like you say, would have liked that.
Yeah, he would have.
Yeah.
He would have. He would have loved it. Really.
If he were alive today, do you think he would be a gospel singer?
No, I think he would be an actor.
Actor. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he would have gravitated.
Was that still his ambition, to be a good actor?
I think what he wanted to do and what he could have done and could have become was a serious actor in a serious film instead of those fluffy kind of films that he made.
Yeah, the movie years, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't particularly care for those films. There was only a couple that he actually liked, as I recall. I'm trying to remember which ones he was talking about. I think Charo was one of them. What was the other one? I can't remember right now, whatever it was. But I've always had the impression that his career would have translated over to serious acting and serious roles in a big way. Even if he was not even acting in the film, if he was acting as a producer or somebody in that position having to do with creating, a film.
You know, in the 60s, he got tired of doing the movies. Do you think that in the 70s, he got just as tired of doing the live shows, that he was looking for new challenges and not getting them?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, we're all that way.
Yeah.
Aren't we?
It's been said sometimes that people, of course we know that drugs played a major role in his death, but it's been said that creative disappointment, disillusion played a big role because he was bored. And he was perhaps tired of the concerts because he was basically doing the same routine night after night after night.
Yeah. That's true.
And at some point, the Elvis shows got a bit stale, especially 76 when you guys got fired. He wasn't changing it a whole lot.
When you got a niche,
and
you scratch it to relieve it. After a while, if you keep scratching it, it becomes agony. It becomes pain. It's no longer a relief. It's no longer a good thing. Now it's pain because it's the same thing over and over and over and over again. Drive you crazy. It drive me nuts.
Yeah.
So I certainly can understand why he would get tired of the same old, same old.
Yeah.
I do.
Because he was a dynamic guy.
Yeah.
And he was easily bored, and he was constantly looking for challenges or excitement.
Yep. And whenever he found something that he was interested, he would just do it until he beat it to death. He never did anything in moderation.
Yeah.
Ever at all. Full bore ahead.
Were you ever in a recording studio with Elvis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Dwight was talking about Hurt, the song Hurt.
Yeah.
I was there when he recorded,
Hurt.
that song. And
that was at Graceland in a den.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there was carpet on the walls. So that made a good recording. It was kind of funny. That whole situation. And Elvis's record producer,
Felton Jarvis.
Felton.
Yeah.
Funny thing about Felton, but we got to, Felton was the funniest human being on the face of the planet. He really was. Felton Jarvis was great. Anyhow, we were doing a gig in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and we got in late. And I think it was Lake Charles. I could be wrong, but I think that's where it was. And Lamar and Felton, wanted to go and relax and have a glass of wine, and there was a lounge act, in the lounge area. So we did, and we're sitting there, and it was a duo, a girl singer and a guy piano, whatever it was. But anyhow, she was amazing. She was, fabulous voice. Really, really good-looking girl, fabulous voice. And they did, 3 or 4 songs while we were sitting there, and we enjoyed that. And Then finally they said, this is our final song for the evening. It says, thank you all very much, blah, blah, blah. And Felton goes, Dave, go get them and see if they'll play another set.
Yeah.
I'll get them to play another set. Give them some money here.
Mm-hmm.
So I went over there and I said, excuse me, we got here late. We really enjoyed your performance. I was wondering if you guys would do another set. And they said, oh man, we're tired. It's been, we don't, and I started calling out $100 bills,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they agreed to do another set.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about it, me and Lamar, Felton. I said, Felton, you ought to hook her up. She's
Mm-hmm.
really an amazing talent. And he said, yeah, but Dave, it's a song. I went, what? He says, it's the song, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yeah, but she's great. And I couldn't get that out of my mind and whatever. And he said, look, I am going to talk to her, but there are 1,000 people like her.
Mm-hmm.
It's the song, Dave. Okay, here we are at the recording at Graceland.
Mm-hmm.
Felton's out in the truck, the RCA truck. The band is there, and I'm there with the band.
Mm-hmm.
And Elvis is upstairs doing whatever he's doing. Mm-hmm. So we're all sitting around bored, and Felton comes over to the microphone, and he says, hey, Dave, do you know any of the lyrics to any of Elvis's songs? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, sing a couple of bars. I said, Felton. And I knew it's trying to put me in a trick,
Mm-hmm.
right? I can't sing. I'm a terrible. He said, sing the damn song. So the guys in the band are going, yeah, go ahead, Dave, we'll accompany you. Yeah, part and parcel of the whole thing.
So what did you do? Treat me like a
So
fool? Love me?
I forgot whatever the song was. So I sang a few bars. And Felton goes, okay, that's enough. So he did his thing. And he said, hang on. Yeah. Then he plays back me singing those couple of bars.
Mm-hmm.
And I sound like crap. I mean, I was awful. Just terrible. Embarrassingly bad. And he said, all right, wait just a second. And he goes back and he fools around whatever he does out in the truck. And he said, now listen to it. Played it back again, and I sounded absolutely great. He fixed everything.
Mm-hmm.
All my lows and highs. He fixed everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I sounded great. And then he said, it's the song, Dave. He got me, oh, Felton.
He got you.
Yeah, he got me.
Were you there when Elvis recorded that X-rated version of Hurt?
Yeah. I thought he was going to spit his guts out. That's a hard song.
At the time, it was said that he was doing that, that X-rated version because he did it as a joke to Vernon. Yeah. Is that true?
That's what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know.
No. Okay. Your last memory of Elvis, something personal, something private, something he told you. Is there anything that stands out for you?
Yeah, I'm going to have to think about that. No, not really.
Mm-hmm.
We just had, I thought everything was normal and everything was fine until it wasn't.
Until it wasn't,
yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of sad how it ended, It could have been different.
Well.
And he could have still been alive.
Yeah. Well, my personal belief is that we all have our plan.
True.
And somebody greater than me put that plan together.
Yeah.
And I'm at peace with that.
And perhaps Elvis fulfilled his purpose.
Yeah. Well, he did.
Yes.
Just like you're gonna.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like I'm gonna.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's what we do.
We have a purpose, and we're servicing that purpose as it's supposed to be. That is the way it is.
Yeah.
So,
So in a way, our lives unfold as they should.
yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a source of peace. I feel really peaceful about my whole situation where I am. You know, I think everything is funny.
Yeah.
You know, I don't.
But you know, when we talk about all of these people, one thing that kind of strikes me right now is that, you know, everybody's dead. You're
Yeah.
almost like the last man standing.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? I mean, when you talk about all these people, Red, Sonny, Lamar, Elvis, they're all gone.
Yeah, I miss them.
Yeah, you missed them.
Yeah.
They were good friends.
Yeah, I thought so.
Mhm.
Still do,
Yeah.
frankly. A lot of stuff that happened was mischaracterized,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of it was right on.
Mm-hmm.
It's solid. But, you know, that's life. That happens to all of us.
It's life.
There's good stuff, there's bad stuff, and we're not immune.
But you
to
guys
it.
must have had a lot of great camaraderie and fun.
Yeah, we did. It
You,
was like,
Red, Sonny, those guys.
yeah, us against the world.
Yeah.
Or the world against
Rough
us.
boys.
You know, one of the
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I know Red felt it very strongly. You know, all of the negative stuff coming this way, it just really, really hurt him. Really hurt him. Sonny the same way, you know, and me too, because it wasn't fair.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a good, reasonable way to think. You know, we just stood up and we did the best we could, the best we knew how, and we failed.
Under difficult circumstances.
Yes, and we failed.
Because something that people sometimes forget is that, well, there's also the stories about his generosity, his humility. But on the other end of the spectrum, he was also a spoiled superstar.
Mm-hmm.
You know that.
Yeah. So I don't. I really don't spend any time with regrets.
No.
Yeah, why?
There's no point to it.
Yeah, there's no point to it.
No.
So I'm really at peace in my own mind about where I'm at. I'm enjoying the heck out of my life. Who would have imagined that somebody my age would be doing the thing?
And you're now 85.
I'm 85 years old.
Yeah.
And as we demonstrated today,
Mm-hmm.
no one ever believes I'm as old as I am.
Mm-hmm.
No one ever does that. I mean, that girl today, she guessed me at 60?
Yes,
Yeah.
she did.
That's typical. That's the normal. That's the normal reaction, because I don't. You know, primarily because I was in the martial art world, I don't hang out with old people.
Mm.
People my own age.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always with people who are a lot younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing the same kind of things that they're doing.
You've told me about your whole life. It started, you know, your childhood. You mentioned rats and cockroaches. Then you found karate at Parker. You became excellent at karate. Then the whole Elvis story, the superstar, the live shows, you know, the hectic lifestyle. It ended so abruptly with the betrayal. And then afterwards, after all these years, you're still here, you're still putting it out there. Do you have any concluding thoughts?
Not really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, except to say, you know, life is good.
Life is good.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, have a good time. Don't hurt nobody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wish our leaders could.
That's another story.
I wish they would.
That's another story.
Like
Yeah.
you know, so I don't like the state of affairs that's prevalent in the United States and in the world today. I don't like what's happening to people who are powerless to do anything about their circumstances. And I'm basically one of those people, you know. I can't live on Social Security.
No.
Nobody can. You can't do that. And I think about all, you know, I don't want to sound like I'm a complainer or anything,
No.
but, you know, I mean, there are a lot of people who are a lot worse off than I am, you know, and, you know, I pray for those folks. It's just awful, the things that they have to go through. And, you know, the way the New World Order has evolved, it looks like I'm kind of wondering if the United States is going to survive it. Really.
But about you, the thing that really matters is how you feel about life, how I feel about life, how we cope with our daily lives. I mean, the politics is one thing, daily life is another. But you're happy in daily life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
Do you feel that you're blessed?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
good.
I do. I know I'm blessed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I really do. Things have happened to me where I thought I was in a position that was really awful. And then something would happen to change that for the better. Without my intervention or anything me doing. So what am I supposed to think of that? You know, it happened to me so many times that I can't ignore the fact that I really do believe that the things that happen in my life are ordained, part of a plan. And because I have come to believe that, I also accept it.
You see it as a learning curve.
I do.
Yes.
And I, in a lot of
Also
ways,
the bad experiences.
yeah.
Especially the bad experiences.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know, I try to avoid those, but I try to approach those from a solvable perspective, as opposed to getting angry and blowing up. I mean, don't put your hand on my daughter, you know, because you know, I'll bust your face. But other than that, I mean, let's talk. You know, there's nothing that we can't solve as long as we're agreeable to talk out the issues. And you know, if we do that, we'll become more understanding of each other and each other's position. And when you say, you know, that's a good point. I never thought about that. You know, right? So it's an enjoyable experience for me, because I really like hearing from other people what their experiences are.
Sure.
You know, I really do. You know, I'm not the only one on camera.
No. And we can learn from each other.
Yeah.
You know, that's what life is about. You know, learning every day.
Yep.
And on that note, I would like to say thank you for the interview, Dave. It was a pleasure, a genuine pleasure. Thank you.
My pleasure.